Welcome, everyone, and please be seated. Welcome to the 205th convening of the academic year at Amherst College. During my remarks later, I'm going to talk about this ceremonial space, Johnson Chapel, and a little about the history of the college. But the history of where we're seated precedes both the college and the town from which we have taken our name. The place where we gather today is the Nonotuck homeland in the Quinnipiac Valley, which has been and still is today a crossroads of multiple Native nations and a place of cultural exchange. Home to the Nipmuc and the Wampanoag to the east, the Mohegan and the Pequot to the south, the Mohican to the west, and the Abenaki to the north. As we begin Convocation, let us celebrate the enduring connections between them and this place and this college and our people. Convocation celebrates the start of the academic year and the launch of the college career of our new students, whether they belong to the class of 29 or transfer students. We come together today to formally mark the start of our time together as a community dedicated to intellectual growth and fellowship. As we entered this space just now, the class of 2029 and our other incoming students stood while our faculty members proceeded through them in regalia. Students, you stood, or just observed, as a sign of respect for these people who will be your teachers. We'll work on that next year. What's important is that at graduation on the quad outside, commencement, we will reverse this. Our faculty will stand to honor you as you proceed in your commencement robes through them, in symbolic recognition of the journey you have been on together and your readiness to launch into the world as Amherst graduates. Now, it's been our custom at Amherst to award an honorary Master's of Arts degree to faculty members who have reached the rank of full professor and who are not themselves graduates of the college. This custom derives from a desire to pay tribute to their distinction as teachers and scholars. It shows Amherst's pride in them and expresses our desire to bring them even more. Will the degree recipients please approach the stage? Professor Nusrat Sabina Chowdhury, Anthropology and Sociology. Professor Sone Coronias Bolton, English, Spanish, Asian American and Pacific Islander Studies, and Latinx and Latin American Studies. Professor Adi Gordon, History and European Studies. Professor Tariq Jaffer, Religion. Professor Pooja Girish Rangan, English and Film and Media Studies. Professor Julia Daisy McQuaid, psychology. And Professor Jessica Sunhae Sidman, mathematics. By the virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Amherst College, I confer upon you the degree of Master of Arts, honoris causa, with all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. Please join me in congratulating all of these degree recipients. I'm now pleased to introduce the Amherst College Glee Club, led by Director of the Choral Music Program and Senior Lecturer in Music, Ariana Abella, which will be performing 3 gifts with words and music by Lisa Smith Vanderliven, a member of the class of 1989. Good evening, everyone, and welcome again. I know that for our new students, this is not your first time here in Johnson Chapel. You were here last night, yesterday afternoon, for Ted Chiang's talk. Many of you may have come to this for other reasons, an admitted students event or something like that. But today, your presence here in Johnson Chapel is your formal beginning as students of Amherst College. Johnson Chapel is a funny place. And I will tell you that even after 3 years as president, it still feels very strange for me to be up here. This chapel is where faculty and students have been coming for generations to talk about the things that matter to us as a campus. It is where we come to talk about what makes Amherst, Amherst. And that's what I want to do today. And to start, I'm going to introduce you to two of the people whose portraits hang around us. And I know it's going to be hard for most of you to see them both, and maybe even for just to see one of them, so please indulge me, because they are two of the people who helped me think about this place, this Amherst. The first one is staring directly at me in the back with beady eyes, parted hair, and that's Alexander Meiklejohn. Hello, Alexander. He was president over 100 years ago, and he did a lot as president. He was also divisive. About half the faculty seemed to be in revolt against him during his entire 12 years as president. Thank you. In the end, he was fired by the Board of Trustees. Good cautionary tale for me. But what really matters to me about Meiklejohn was he had this idea. The idea that at the heart of Amherst and the heart of a college was a certain kind of freedom, the freedom of the mind, or what I think of as intellectual freedom. It's the freedom to pursue truth, to pursue wisdom, to pursue creativity, even when it creates challenge or discomfort. It is the freedom to be curious and to pursue that curiosity without restraint. For Meiklejohn, this kind of freedom is not just a privilege, it's the foundation of everything at a college. And just as important, this freedom of thought carries with it a certain obligation. The obligation to constantly test one's opinions, to seek out new evidence and different ways of thinking, to not only listen to different perspectives, but to be curious about them, and then to change and evolve as one learns. Practicing this kind of freedom is not always easy, but it can be immensely pleasurable. It takes practice. It takes time to learn. And that's one of the reasons that colleges like Amherst exist, to introduce you to this way of thinking and being in the world, and to also show you that there can be a kind of joy to it. It's one of the reasons that it takes a special kind of person to be a college professor and to live out these ideals every day. These people in the center, in their colorful robes and interesting hats, carry with them a special kind of work. The difficulty and joy of being relentless in their searching, of being relentless in their self-questioning, and their questioning of each other and their students and their presidents. They carry with them an immense responsibility to practice this freedom, and we're all lucky to have them here. Now, 110 years ago, in 1915, President Meiklejohn in the back handed a diploma to the gentleman in this portrait that's really right above me, a graduating student named Charles Hamilton Houston. There were only 96 students in the class of 1915, and Houston was the only black among them. He was part of a history of Amherst recruiting students from the Dunbar School in Washington, D.C. By the time he graduated, he had so distinguished himself that he was a member of a group called the Bond 15, the group of 15 students who had achieved the highest academic standing, and he was one of only 5 students who was invited to speak at commencement. After graduating from Amherst, he assumed a different kind of responsibility, and he served as an artillery officer in France during World War I. He came back to the United States, earned his law degree at Harvard Law School, and became one of the architects of civil rights law and a teacher of civil rights lawyers at Howard University Law School in Washington. In so many ways, the world that we all inhabit together would not be what it is if it had not been for Charles Hamilton Houston and people like him and the way that they used their freedom to create freedom for others. When he was dean of the law school at Howard, Dean Houston was passionate about talking to his students about their responsibilities to serve society no matter what kind of law they practiced. My colleague, Stephen Bradley, reminded us in May at the senior exercises last year of something that Dean Houston once said. He said, "A lawyer can either be a parasite on society or a social engineer." That choice speaks to a different kind of obligation, a responsibility to think about what your relationship to the world will be. Do I want to be someone who just takes from the world, or someone who helps to build it in better ways? That might feel like a very simple question, but it's not. If you look back and forth between these two portraits of Meiklejohn and Houston, you can imagine a dialogue between them. A dialogue about freedom and responsibility, about curiosity and knowledge and justice. A dialogue that raises as many questions as it answers about the value and purpose of education. A dialogue that all of us in the chapel today, faculty, administrators, and you, our newest students, especially you are now part of. What will you use your freedom for? How will you embrace the responsibility that comes with it? How can you use this to make a life of meaning, purpose, happiness? What makes Amherst Amherst is not only we take on questions like this, but we do it in this community together. Like many of you coming here today, I came here as a student from far away, from Arizona. And like many of you, colleges like Amherst were not part of my family tradition. In fact, I had never even been to Massachusetts or New England before I came here for an admitted students weekend. And what I discovered when I came here as a student that fall is not that all of the people at Amherst were just like me. Amherst is not Disneyland, where it's a small world after all. What I discovered instead was that all these people, in fact, quite different from me, but that we could learn from each other. That we could even learn sometimes to like each other if we could recognize in each other a common capacity to grow, to understand, and to listen to one another. I realize that I'm speaking to you at a moment when this idea of a community where people respect one another, recognizing each other a kind of common humanity, and still push one another to grow and learn, that kind of community might seem hopelessly utopian. Especially in this country, everyone seems to agree that we're more divided than ever, that it's impossible to get people out of their comfort zones of being surrounded by others who think and believe the same way they do. And in fact, the data shows us that Americans are living in communities that are often homogenous in terms of income, political party, and even race and ethnicity. One purpose of a community like Amherst is to be a place where we can learn something else. We can be a place where we work through what it means to live with one another and learn from one another, where we can recognize our differences and not be paralyzed by them, where we have both the freedom to pursue our own ideas and the responsibility to listen to others. If that feels utopian, maybe it is. There is something marvelous about listening to someone explain their enchantment with a domain of knowledge, whether in the library or the laboratory, that sounds completely foreign and strange. There's something magical in listening to someone play an instrument or watching someone play a game that we would never think of picking up ourselves. And then there are moments like this one, where we come together to wear 8-sided hats, or dance in the quad on tents, or sing together, that give us the permission to be together in celebration of those things we have in common. This fall, starting on Wednesday, I'm teaching my first course here at Amherst College. I'm very nervous about this. And one of the authors I'm teaching is the writer and activist James Baldwin, who taught at the 5 colleges here in the 80s. And so Baldwin has been on my mind all summer. I want to read you a passage from one of his essays, and as I do, I invite you for a second to stop looking at me, those of you who are, and look at the people who are sitting around you, your fellow students, the faculty who will be your teachers. At the end of an essay talking about the incredible challenges facing his country, Baldwin writes this: "A country is only as strong as the people who make it up, and the country turns into what the people want it to become. Now this country is going to be transformed. It will not be transformed by an act of God, but by all of us, by you and me. I don't believe any longer that we can afford to say that it's entirely out of our hands. We made the world we're living in, and we have to make it over." If you listen to Baldwin, you can hear in him a question about what we will do with our freedom to transform the world. You can hear him in the responsibility to accept that all of us as individuals are part of a collective that have made it. And the size and scope of his invitation to remake the country and the world, that's daunting. Where can you learn to do that? Who can teach you to do that? Look around you again. That's what this place, this Amherst, and the people who inhabit it are for. Whatever you study here, whatever majors or clubs you pursue, this is what you are here to learn. But you have to want to learn it. During my last 3 years as president, I've talked to hundreds of students and hundreds of alumni, and I've heard hundreds of different ways of experiencing Amherst as a student. If there's one thing that Amherst College gives to its students, it's choice. Thanks to the open curriculum, you have both the freedom and the responsibility for selecting your own courses from the very first semester. You can choose from dozens of majors, and we have more clubs, it seems to me, than we actually have students. And then if you find something that's missing, you can usually create it. So you have choices before you. And these are probably the choices that you as new students are thinking about the most right now. What am I going to major in? What clubs am I going to join? Who am I going to try to be friends with? I get it. Those are the things that are on your mind. But after all of my time of talking with students and graduates, I've become convinced that in the end, even with all the different majors and clubs and activities, there's only one difference that matters. And it's not the difference between those who study the humanities and those who study the sciences, or the athletes and the non-athletes, or the thesis writers and the non-thesis writers. Instead, it's the difference between two Amherst mindsets. There are some Amherst students who come here and they follow through on the areas of interest they came here with. Or maybe they decide on their major in their first semester, their first year, and they stick with it. They pursue their goals carefully, diligently, thoughtfully. They pick courses that will be good for their majors and for their GPA. And they do the work to make sure that GPA starts high and stays there. They make good friends from the start, and they stick with them. They might have a club or a team or an instrument they play, and they get better and better about that over the course of the 4 years, and when they leave, they have a stacked resume and a long LinkedIn page, and they cross the stage at graduation. I smile, I give them a diploma, and they leave here with an Amherst degree. Then there are other students who also come to Amherst with interests and goals, but they test them. They test themselves. They choose some classes that don't always line up well with what they might major in, sometimes in areas they know nothing about. Sometimes they wander a bit before declaring a major. They do a lot of work for some of their classes, even sometimes more work than is necessary, and sometimes they might let some of their classes slide a bit. They also make good friends, but they keep looking out to make new ones. They might try out 1 or 2 clubs, and then they change their minds and try new ones. They look to take risks. Throughout their 4 years, some of those risks pay off, and some of them don't. And in the process, they learn things about themselves and about the world that they never dreamt were possible when they sat here at Convocation. And those students will also cross the stage of graduation. I'll give them the same diploma, the same smile, but they'll leave here with more than a degree. They will leave here with an Amherst education. I cannot make you take that path. I can't even make you want to take it. It finally has to be your choice. Do I want just a degree, or do I want an education? And I know that when I say that, some of you might be thinking, you know, that's a nice idea to be able to take chances, but I can't afford risks. I have too much pressure on me from my family. I have too much at stake because of my background. I need to do everything that I could do, everything I can to make sure that my GPA is perfect and I can get on to my next goal after Amherst. Listen to me. Listen to me. I know that feeling. I know it is not always easy to take a chance on yourself. One of the differences between high school and college is that regardless of your biological age, we are now going to treat you like adults. You have the freedom that comes with adulthood, and you have the responsibility as well. And if you don't learn to take a chance on yourself now, you may never learn it. Like I said, I cannot decide this for you. These are ultimately your 4 years, and you have to decide how you will use the opportunity that's before you, an opportunity that you may have that you may never come again, an opportunity that's very different from the 4 years of high school that you spent worrying and working to get into a place like Amherst. What you have before you now is the chance to discover the joy of learning to live with some uncertainty, the pleasure of trying things you may not be good at, and the immense reward of becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable. I don't know what kind of changes may transpire in the years after you graduate from this college, but there are many who predict that advances in computation and artificial intelligence are going to transform the world and the workplace dramatically. This is why pushing yourself to learn, doing the difficult thing of learning to learn, is so important. Pursuing an education rather than just a degree will make you more adaptable, more comfortable with change and disruption, and ultimately better prepared not just to survive an uncertain future, but to lead and to shape it. 4 years from now, you're going to look back on the choices you made at Amherst, choices between comfort and curiosity, between the well-worn path and the one that led somewhere unexpected. Meiklejohn believed that intellectual freedom is the foundation of the college experience. Houston insisted that that freedom must ultimately serve others. Baldwin called on us to own our responsibility for the world that we inhabit and then to remake it. What they have in common is their understanding that freedom, rightly used, demands courage and imagination. They believed in a community where people could become their best selves. This is what makes Amherst Amherst. It gives you the freedom to pursue what matters to you most deeply and the responsibility to use that freedom well. It gives you the chance to grow into people who can live fully, serve generously, and imagine boldly. But it's only a chance. The next 4 years are yours, not mine. Whether you choose the safer path or the one that stretches and pushes you, the path of comfort or the path of growth, that choice is yours. In fact, the choices that matter are now all yours. And they begin right now. Choose with curiosity. Thank you. To conclude this evening's program, the Glee Club will lead us in singing O Amherst. You can find the words in your program. After we sing together, hold on, there's a few instructions. You don't get all the choices. After we sing together, students, please remain in the place while the faculty members recess out of the chapel. As you exit the chapel, students, I hope you will join me for fellowship and conversation on the specially illuminated quad. And now I ask that all please rise as you're able, and as you're able or not, to sing. Thank you.
All right, everyone, we're going to do things a little differently this year. The Glee Club is going to come in, and we're going to teach you line by line the chorus of O Amherst. Now, faculty, I heard at the meeting today that there were lots of you ready to take the stage, so I expect to hear you singing well, all right? So we're gonna sing each line, the Glee Club's gonna sing, and then I'm gonna ask you to repeat, okay? And the words are on the back of your program. So Glee Club first. Your hats on. Oh, Amherst, just the melody. Okay, repeat. Ready and go. Oh, Amherst, our Amherst. Next line. 'Tis a name known to fame from shore to shore. Now all of you. 'Tis a name known to fame from shore to shore. May it ever be glorious. Ready and go. May it ever be glorious. Till the sun shall climb the heavens no more. Till the sun shall climb the heavens no more. Okay, let's sing it all together, just the chorus. Oh, Amherst, 1, 2, and. Oh, Amherst, our Amherst, 'tis a name known to fame from shore to shore. May it ever be glorious, till the sun shall climb the heavens no more. Very good. Consider that your audition for the Glee Club. You're all in. That was fantastic. So we're going to sing the verses and then join us for the chorus. This is the 160th Glee Club, a really fun year to join us. So faculty and students, you're all invited. Thank you, and here we go from the top.